Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Gilly. Welcome to our webinar, State of SEO. I'm an account coordinator over here at Panos. Joining me today are two experts on SEO, and we'll be navigating through the what ifs and what is of SEO. I'll allow them to introduce themselves.
Hi, I am Mel Coleman, the Director of Strategy and Media here at Panos. I have been here for almost 4 years and like to consider SEO not just something I do, but a wild passion of mine, a hobby, if you will. It's something that, Abby and I work really, really closely on, and it's something that we like to geek out on. So I apologize in advance for the level of nerd you will hear today.
And I am Abby. Like Mel said, we are passionate about SEO. So here at Panos, I am a digital strategist. So I work alongside both the paid media team and the organic team and website team in order to make sure that websites are best optimized for user experience. So it all comes together, and you will definitely be hearing our passion for SEO come out here today.
All right, well, I can't wait. So basically, we all know SEO stands for search engine optimization. In essence, it's the process of improving the quality and quantity of website traffic to a website from search engines. But I know there's a whole lot more going on there. So why don't we just get right into it? And what does it kind of look like today, Mel?
So in essence, and we're going to get into like the details around the factors that go into ranking and what really matters and all of that. But ultimately, when you think of SEO, you need to think of content and experience. And that's not just with the recent algorithm shifts, but it's really where the industry as a whole is going within the search engine space and how users are engaging with search overall. So when it comes down to search in general, it's all search engines have consistently said with Google primary, we're going to reference Google a lot, and it's because they account for, Abby, I think 87% of search traffic on average. So Google's like, make your users happy. And fortunately, they gave us a really fun illustration for this, kind of visual journey, if you will. And that's to say, if you were to get the best meal of your life, right? Best meal of your life from a food truck, and that same exact meal from a 5-star restaurant, which one would you trust more? And which one, when you go to make that recommendation, would your friends and family trust more? Are they going to actually believe you when you say the best meal of your life came from a food truck? Probably not. And so you have to really be honest with yourself about your website. There's a lot of emotions tied into how a website is designed and how it's looked. We know some institutions have had the same website for 10 years. And at that point, it's a baby, it's a child. It's like, oh, this is something that's mine. But it's not, it's a digital branch. And that experience matters for your consumers who are aging as well. And we have Gen Alpha coming up too. So we really have to be mindful of what that experience looks like and the content within it.
Gotcha. And two, so how does SEO even get determined? Like, how does that whole process work?
Yeah, so this process and the general process of SEO is not just, we'll do this one thing and all is well. There are hundreds of signals and factors that determine whether or not your website is even optimized enough to even show up on the search engine result page. And year over year, these factors change constantly due to algorithm updates and also just the advance of technology and machine learning. Every single month, there are new factors and new determining signals. And really, SEO determination is the first step or the first kind of roadblock in the long, long road of, can I rank? Is my website even going to show up on the search engine result page? So instead of me sitting here listing the hundreds of factors that will impact your website, there's a three kind of main common sections that all of these factors have to do with. And those are called the 3 C's. And what these 3 C's are, it's code, credibility, and content. So really, these 3 aspects make up every single part of your website. So code meaning, is your backend technical code up to par? Are you meeting best practices? From a content point of view, do you actually have content written on your website? It sounds silly to say that, but if you only have a sentence or two on your website, when Google's bots or really any sort of search engine bot goes and crawls your website, they're going to say, nah, they don't have much to say. They don't have something significant to say. So really making sure that the actual content on your website is significant. Also taking into account the Flesch-Kincaid readability score. Average reading level for the United States is 6th grade. So as a financial institution, remembering that you need to take it down a level and talk to, like you were talking to a 6th grader, in the sense of these are very, very high level topics that need to be taken down to a very more understandable level. The other aspect of that is credibility. Are you even a credible source? Should users even be trusting you to be telling them this information? These 3 main sections are what determine whether or not you will even show up on the search engine result page. So making sure that you're meeting these aspects is really the first step in landing yourself on the search engine result page. Getting yourself to rank is a completely different conversation, but really making sure that you're meeting these 3 C's is the first step in getting yourself to show on the search engine result page and be determined.
So you bring up rank, like I always want to be number 1 in everything that I do. So in this case, how would someone try to be the best rank that they could be?
So for this, I just say buckle up. We're about to get into it. So, okay, you've met the 3 C's. You have your content, your code, and you are credible. Great. But that might not mean you're showing up on the first spot on the first page. And that can be very, very frustrating after you've done all of this work. Why aren't you showing? Well, first things first, it's important to remember that originally it was once true that search engine optimization was the process of improving your website so you would rank better. Now, because of all of the algorithm updates and the improvement on machine learning, search engine optimization has evolved into a process of improving your website to be best suited for your users' needs and your users' experience. Like Mel said, it is all about the user. It's no longer about you. It is about your customer, it's about your client, and it's about meeting their needs. So you're going to hear it. There's a lot of acronyms in marketing in general. So to best suit users' needs, there is an acronym we like to focus on. That's really just a general quality guideline called EAT. And EAT. And what that stands for is expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So really very similar to the 3 C's, but it dives a little bit deeper into, are you an expert on this topic? Do you know what you're even talking about? Is it clear and concise to the user? Are you authoritative? Do you have a reputation in this industry? Are you just a random person telling your users about savings and CDs, or do you actually have the reputation in your industry to be speaking on this? And then lastly, are you trustworthy? Are you a safe and reliable source? Are you a scammy website? Do you have a bunch of pop-ups? Or is it really a journey that is meant for the user? Now, it is important to keep in mind, financial institutions are held at a significantly higher standard when it comes to ranking on a search engine. And that is because of this category called YMYL. And what that stands for is your money, your life. And this category is huge. And it has such a huge impact because basically YMYL content has the power to influence a user's major life decision, either relating to their money or their life. That said, EAT becomes a huge, enormous priority when it comes to financial institutions or YMYL categories, because if you're not an expert, you don't have trust and authoritativeness within whatever you're speaking on, why would you be allowed to help make these huge decisions regarding a user's life journey? So knowing that you have to take EAT and YMYL into consideration is the first step. That said, yet again, like I said, buckle up. There is so much more. And along with making sure that you're meeting the authoritative expertise and trustworthiness categories for your money, your life, there's also an additional ranking factor that is critical. You must write your website for the user. You are not writing your website for search engines and for bots to crawl. That is often what it was previously recommended, like keyword stuffing or some like fun back end tricks to get yourself to rank higher. that is a no-go. Technology is far too smart. Like I was saying, with these algorithm updates and machine learning, the search engines know. They know what you're doing when you're.
And we may have lost it.
Well, she gave a lot. She gave a lot of a lot of information there.
And really, I mean, ultimately, she said what we were hoping for in that EAT and YMYL. And authoritativeness and trustworthiness, there's a lot of different ways to get that kind of underway. Authoritativeness, this is where you have to have a backlinking strategy. It's, do other people point to you? Do they link back to you? They can't do that if you're not saying anything. If you have the same content that you've always had on your product pages, why does anybody need to link to that? So what value are you adding to their lives to help them make that decision? You cannot make it for them. So you have to give them enough to know that they can make that informed decision on their own. And that's how you really build up the authoritativeness and trustworthiness of your site, as well as ongoing security measures. So there's a lot of different factors that really go into this, but these are the high level ones. We didn't also come up with these acronyms. They're ones known in the industry. So even though Panos and marketing in general is known for so many different acronyms, these are ones that are truly kind of in the search engine space, really well known across the board.
Well, I mean, you can't forget. That's going to be a simple one to remember.
Yeah.
But there is a lot going on here. So how does one even get like started with all this? Like, where do you go from having all these acronyms and all this knowledge?
Yeah. So first things first is an audit. And this is something where you have to, and I mention this because especially everyone on the Panos team, everybody that has worked in the website space knows that institutions get very defensive of their existing website. You get very defensive of your content. And it's because you're like, I put my heart and soul into this last time. It didn't make it wrong then. It was often probably a very right decision, but it's not then anymore. Time has changed. The algorithm itself, the search engine algorithms itself, they update daily with then kind of more major updates happening monthly and even a couple times a month. And then a few times a year, there are major updates that occur within the algorithm itself. And then every few years, sometimes a little bit more often than every few years, there's an algorithm shift. That's something that we saw just at the end of the summer. And that was also just kind of another little update to that, which was the helpful content update. And that's something that you always have to be ready for. So even though your site was great in 2018, it's 2022 now. The world has evolved. The way that we use technology across the board has evolved. So you cannot view your site in the same or through the same lens as when it was built. You have to be honest with yourself. That audit too needs to take into account on page, on site, kind of visible content and visible design and imagery and technical content and that back end code that Abby was referring to. Because really both things matter. And this is where the means, the mechanisms with which you do an audit truly need to be weighed appropriately above and beyond budget. Because if you're going to go in and say, I'm only going to spend X amount on a budget, and they'll just tell me what keywords I need to be ranking for. To rank, as Abby has already explained, to rank includes technical content. It includes the build of your site. It includes the user journey and that experience. So just making the adjustments to your content, you're not going to see the impact in your rankings if you're not fixing the size of your tap targets or how quickly your images load, or if there's a compression happening, or if things are being hidden behind the scenes, or if you have 7 of the same meta descriptions and meta titles across pages. There are so many things that go into it that a simple audit would miss, and therefore it's not paying the dividends that it should. So you really do have to look behind the scenes and making sure that you're including some newer things. Something that not enough people are talking about, I don't think, is schema and schema markup. So schema is a kind of a language. Yeah, no. So it's not an acronym. It's kind of like a language of sorts that was developed by all of the major search engines a few years ago. And ultimately what it allows bots to do is understand chunks of content. So if you see featured snippets on the home, on the search engine result page of SERP, and that's where you see like that 0 result. So if you were to say something simple, like best mortgage rate near me. And it's just like, you know, and this is a totally made up example, but you know, 5.1%. And it'll link down at the bottom, but it's just going to show that answer along the top. That's called a featured snippet. And it's 0 click for the search result because I don't have to click to see exactly what I was searching for. This is where Google is really playing with the structure of what a SERP looks like. But in order to do that, in order to even be considered for that, because even say that you pass E, you pass Y and YL, you pass all those standards, you still might not rank on page 1 because you're up against everyone else who's also passed those standards. So to get there though, you have to have things like schema markup to be able to have your article shown the way you want it to be seen within the social space. You need to be using Open Graph. So there's a lot of different components there. And so you really do need to make sure that you have a thorough SEO audit to understand exactly what's happening that encompasses on page and technical. And then 2, can't say this enough, is content strategy. So content is, everyone says content is king. I say content is critical. In order for anybody to take you seriously, you need to ensure that you have something to say. And the first thing that kind of comes to mind for a lot of people whenever we're like, oh, like you need a blog, because the content strategy for them equals blog, and a lot of times it does. It doesn't mean that you have to post daily or weekly, not even monthly. You have to post consistently. You have to be, again, trustworthy. Like, I know that XYZ Bank is going to put out an article on the first Tuesday of every month or on the first of every. That's fine, because it should be achievable and maintainable. There is so much to be said in the banking space, in the credit union space, but it's because, again, 6th grade level for that Flesch-Kincaid reading scale, but also explaining what things mean. We take things for granted so much in this space where we understand exactly what any kind of a product means. You know, like we get it, like we understand what it means when the Fed changes the rate. We understand how a HELOC is used. We understand the difference between a money market and a CD and why I would have one versus the other. Most consumers do not. And that's not even just talking generationally, because banking systems in other areas of the world do not act the same way that we do here. And so in order for us to reach every different component of our individual markets, we need to be speaking their language. And that's saying, what is a HELOC? Like actually breaking it down, saying something, explaining what equity means. And I've used this, so I apologize for the clients that I have that are here now, but you know, for a home equity, why am I going to, if I don't know that I have equity in my home, why am I going to pay a $400 or $500 appraisal fee just to find out that I don't meet the 80-20 loan to value standard, or the 90-10, or the 75-25, whatever it is, but helping to really break that down. In my opinion, everyone should have an entire series about HELOCs. I think that they are one of the greatest products to have and the least understood. Nobody gets it, and it's terrifying, and you feel uncomfortable to have to ask it out loud, but we know definitively people are searching it. So why aren't you answering questions on your site? That's an easy win. And again, maintainable, you know it, simple, easy. So always for a content strategy, it should be achievable, maintainable, and something that is actually helpful to the end user. So you're not writing for your internal audience. You're writing as if somebody just walked in off the street and was like, tell me everything I need to know.
That's a lot. So I would be lying if I personally said I wasn't a little overwhelmed, but it's getting there. So kind of what do we have to look forward to? I know we have a new year coming up. So what are kind of big things to be looking out for?
So the first things first, and the one that everybody is really always asking about is cookie policies and getting into kind of the legality side of everything. And I know Abby's having some issues, so don't mind the kind of hopping in and out. We're trying to get her back in here. Ultimately, I'm just going to state this definitively. If you don't have a cookie policy right now, you are likely out of compliance with GDPR or CCPA or both. Because really what it comes down to for both of those policies is if you have one customer or one member who has primary residence in California or in the EU, even if that's 50-50, you are still beholden to those standards for that one person. This is something that we saw with one of our clients that was based in Massachusetts. Tiny little area, but they had somebody move because this is the digital world that we live in. And so they moved for a job or what have you. Instantly made them have to comply with CCPA. On top of that, there's also, because we know when it comes to ambulance chasers that we all saw with ADA several years ago now, whenever something is going after healthcare, the next step is finance to kind of attack them for these letters. So in 2019, 2020, Partners Healthcare in Massachusetts lost a case to the tune of $18 million because they did not have a cookie policy on their site dating back to 2015. Massachusetts does not have cookie policy. So they're still stating, well, because of the industry you're in, again, that kind of your money, your life, YMYL, there is a greater standard here. We need to be even more compliant, which is what we're all used to. The hard thing is it's not clearly defined. So what we've been advising our clients to do, and something that people are more used to from a UX perspective throughout the digital space, is to have a pop-up cookie bar with a comprehensive cookie policy. Now, that cookie policy can be embedded into your online privacy policy, different than the standard privacy policy that most FIs have that you can print out and it looks, you can have a separate one just for online and what happens there. Because first-party cookies are not going away. And I can guarantee if you're using Google Analytics, that's a first-party cookie. So you do need to be disclosing use of that. And that's something that has never really changed, but there's greater kind of light on that now. I can't write a cookie policy. Our legal team will not let me. And that's fine, don't want to. What I do recommend though is looking at any of the regional banks around you, any of the larger national banks, and review their cookie policies. Pretty comprehensive. It doesn't have to say that you're not currently doing remarketing, but you plan to do remarketing. Just cover it. Just say, hey, we could be doing these things at any point in time. And this is how we use that data. That's all you need to be said. Super quick and easy. It takes almost no time to get that up, but I don't want to see anybody have a demand letter because you don't have something in place. And CCPA, California, I think they're updating theirs. It might be CCPRA, something different. New York is also considering one. I know there's a few other states considering them, and there's been rumors for years now that the US as a country is looking at actually passing one nationally. So just kind of get that one fear out of the way. Disclose what your cookies are. Again, this leads into trustworthy. You a trustworthy site. We are when we disclose use of what we're doing online. So, and all of these things really lean into that experience and making sure that people feel comfortable with engaging with us online. And so after cookies and legal, there's, and I wish Abby was here to kind of be the bearer of bad news on this one. There is, she went to an SEO conference, and out of that, there was a Google kind of insider there and said that there's likely a new approach to search engine result pages or SERPs coming. And that is to say that, because nobody really goes to the fourth page of Google, fourth page and beyond. So the first 3 pages are going to continue to be the same. It's just going to say, like, if I'm looking for best checking accounts near me, it'll show me 3 pages of that. But then it could be from page 4 and beyond, similar searches. So instead of saying more of the checking account results, it would then say, oh, people who also search checking, we're also interested in savings, or we're also interested in credit cards. And it would show that instead. What ultimately that means is that we need to have better content. We have to have everything up to the latest standards. And we also need to indicate prioritization of crawling to Google. This is to say that you will have, and this is something we're actively trying to implement on our end for 2023 as well, 2 sitemaps. One that would be indexed and one that would not be, kind of like a secondary indexation, indicating to Google saying, hey, no matter what kind of crawl parameters you have, I need you to crawl this indexation sitemap, the one that we're going to really prioritize, and that should be like the top 15, 20 pages. You're like, yes, this has to be done. And then that secondary sitemap is like, if there's time, please crawl these. It doesn't mean that you won't show up, but it's helping to ensure that your top level pages that you want, that you need to rank for, will actually have a greater chance of being. So I panicked when I was doing that. And then we were fine. We have a plan,
Reasonably
it's
so.
good, but panicked. Absolutely.
Well, I think there's a lot going on, and obviously there's a lot of things to be done. So how would we keep up? You know, how am I going to be ready to know what's going on throughout the year? What's like the best forms of, you know, places I could go to get this information?
Well, one, always be part of the Panos newsletters. Hi.
Yeah.
Beyond that, my favorite newsletters are Search Engine Journal, Search Engine Land. From a technical perspective, is Simo Ahava's Simmer. Simo Ahava is brilliant. So if you're ever looking for technical marketing support, his whole community is incredible. And then there's also a bunch in media also follow Marketing Brew. That's a kind of great one for high level. But Search Engine Journal and Search Engine Land both have great Google insiders. So Barry Schwartz is one. Also, don't discount Reddit ever, because sometimes Redditors are the first ones to notice that there's something happening with the kind of heat maps within the search space. Second, if you have not gotten onto Search Console, please get your site set up onto Search Console. This is Google's free tool for you to see impressions, clicks, CTR, rankings, queries, really what's happening within on your site within the search space. It's a free tool. It's a great indicator. It'll also tell you if there are crawling issues, anything that might kind of be kind of happening above and beyond what's happening with your on-page analytics. It'll tell you what's happening before people even get to your site. Then a tool that we use is Site Improve. So we offer SEO and ADA remediation and monitoring packages, but you can also get them directly from Site Improve just for the monitoring piece. And this is really what I like about Site Improve, because there's a ton of tools to be able to do this, but Site Improve will also, it'll tell us a lot of the content and technical pieces that are needing to be fixed. So, and it's not going to tell me, wow, like this content isn't ranking great. It'll say, wow, there's a lot of duplicate content here, or these meta titles are the same that I'm seeing here, or this is being truncated. So it's ways for us to really tighten up everything that we possibly can. Again, there's a ton of tools out there for SEO. Please vet them. Just with anything else, vet them, ask the questions, read the reviews, really make sure that you are getting a holistic view of your site if you're going to invest. And then finally, you should have a pulse on your site. So you should understand what's happening within your Google Analytics space and be able to say, yes, this is normal traffic. This is not normal traffic. We had a spike here. Why is that spike happening? Or why is that dip happening? My kind of poster child for needing to understand this is in 2019, we had a client who had a very old site, and they hadn't, they were still kind of like weighing the numbers, not really sure if they wanted to do a new site yet, they wanted to invest in a new site yet. When I tell you they needed one, they needed one. And then Google let out the June 2019 core update. And again, YMYL industries are hit the hardest. So whenever an algorithm shift or update happens, it's going to impact finance and healthcare. And so in that update, they lost 30% of their organic traffic and they never regained it. You have to take this seriously, because we know organic leads is the driver of the most of your conversions ever. Paid is great and will supplement everything. It'll do so many great things for you. But if you cannot match it on the organic side, you are actually asking for people to not come to you. You're asking to not have customers. You're asking to not have business. So your organic space needs to be up to par. It's not just saying that from a marketing standpoint, from a business standpoint, you can't afford for it not to be. So please understand your traffic. And if you need help understanding your traffic, please find a partner who can help you to do so.
Awesome. Well, there was a lot, and it was tons of things to feed in and tons of things to understand. And I know there's only more to learn and more to come as the future goes on. I think that is most of kind of the big things for today. So I appreciate you helping out. I know we lost Abby along the way, but we appreciate her being here too. And everyone else who is joining the call today. If you have any further questions regarding SEO, you want to talk about it further, if you have specific questions you are looking for, feel free to reach out to Melanie as well as Abby, M. Coleman at panosmarketing.com and A. Fitzgerald at panosmarketing.com. Thank you so much for your time today, and have a good one. And happy holidays.
Yes, thank you. Happy holidays.
Bye.